Welcome to the For the Love of the Game podcast with Johnny K. This week, episode 6, The Origins of For the Love of the Game in Fourth Line Hockey, a trip through Canadian hockey history, as well as the challenges and triumphs in building a brand that stands for something. Let's get into it.
John Coleus, episode 6 for the Love of the Game podcast. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Hope the start of the year is going well. I appreciate the constructive criticisms, the feedback, and just that you listen. It's awesome. Thank you very much. Episode 6, I'm going to take you back to the discovery of Fourth Line Hockey, the trademark, all the trials and tribulations that went along with it. How did the Fourth Line Hockey come about? Well, it was my first year for the Durham Thundercats. Limited ice time for sure. I knew what I signed up for. And, some games shift a period, 2 shifts. Some games we wouldn't see a shift in the third, whatever. But while we had that extra time in the middle of the bench, we started to joke around. I had a few line mates there, and we talked about Fourth Line Bar and Grill. Yeah, we were going to start a bit of a franchise, and when you walked into our pub, you would see pictures of Ty Domi, Joey Kosher, the Grim Reaper, all these guys, Bobby Probert, the tough guys, and you wouldn't see Gretzky or Lemieux because that's Fourth Line Bar and Grill. Yeah, long live the fourth liner, and we joked about that, but as the season went on, I kind of thought about trademarking it for an apparel company. And that's what I did. Fun fact, when I sent the application in the first time, I made a typo. Yeah, Fourth Line Hockey, F-O-R-T-H, Einstein here. So I had to connect with the people in the office at the Canadian Intellectual Property Office there and say, hello, I made a slight challenge. I spelt fourth wrong. And then we had to amend that. So I don't think I've ever shared that publicly. But yeah, that's me. Get the trademark, and then while we're working on the trademark, the slogan came along, for the love of the game, and we added that to every piece of Fourth Line Hockey apparel that we made. It was fun. Talk about going in blind, having no idea what a apparel company consisted of, or all that went with it. I know at the time I had the store, Johnny K Sports, open in 96, and I was about 2 or 3 years in, so I had some experience in other lines. Back then, there was a cool line called Rival. Know your rival, he knows you. That was cool. Under Armour just started in 96 or 97. I remember my first sales rep that came in, his name was Peter Snelling. He's retired from the business now, but he came in with one piece of paper, and it had a short sleeve and a long sleeve shirt with Under Armour on it, and then it had a short and a long sleeve short for underneath your hockey gear. And I actually thought the idea was crazy. Like, who's going to pay $60 for an undershirt? But hey, it's $1 billion company. Now, what do I know? But that's where I had all the experience with the apparel. So Fourth Line Hockey, why not? And I tell you, along the way, I made a few mistakes. Actually, a lot of mistakes, to tell you the truth. I was always looking, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but always looking for that one person to kind of get me to the promised land. Like, I'm going to meet someone that's huge in marketing. I remember having a meeting with a gentleman named Ben, and he was head of CCM in Mont Forest. Before it turned into number one apparel, back in the day, there was an outlet store, and we talked about the idea. And then after meeting him, I connected with someone that worked at the company. I'm not going to mention his name, but I remember that he was going to help me get this Fourth Line Hockey, and he had some contacts with offshore, and he was going to give me some good pricing. And I remember I just said, well, how much is it going to cost? $5,000. So you know what? Write a check for $5,000, because this $5,000 is going to be the great investment for me the rest of my life. We're going to have a big, huge warehouse, Fourth Line Hockey, forklifts, tractor trailers. My brain was going crazy, but come to think of it, the $5,000, all it got me was some line art, and I'm not saying that this guy maybe kind of pulled the wool over my eyes, but after the fact, I remember I connected with his same artist and I paid him directly, and it did kind of put two and two together. And lesson number one, right? Do some more research. I just wanted to throw money at it to get this idea going. But when that happened around the same time, I was in Cancun, Mexico with the boys. We're on a party, we're on a trip. And I remember I called home, I think it was February, and my sister Ange answered the phone, and she's like, hey, you wouldn't guess what happened. I'm like, what? She said, Gary Volk from the Toronto Maple Leafs was wearing your hat in an interview, and Scott Oake was doing the interview, and he was asking him questions, and that was kind of like, wow, the pinnacle. And how did Gary Volk get a hat? Well, we just went really simple. Back in the day, we put together like 21 boxes, and we put a hat, and we put a return envelope with a stamp on it, and I put a survey, and I asked them, do you guys like the idea? What do you think? And Gary Volk never replied with the letter, but he replied even more with the interview on Hockey Night Canada.
You're not getting paid to wear that hat. It says fourth line. Tell me about the significance of it.
Well, it's just a fan that sent it to me, and actually it says on the back, for the love of the game. And a lot of times there's a lot of guys in the fourth line that maybe might not play a lot or get the recognition. And a guy started a clothing company, and he wanted to wear the hat.
That guy started out, that guy with that hat there, he sent it to me, and I get this all the time. He says, Grapes, how can I market this? I don't know. He's a guy just starting out. So he said it's got fourth line. I said, nobody knows talk about fourth line. I drew him a picture. I put fourth line and drew him a picture in the hockey sticks, and I put it on. Now I said, people will know what it is. And that's what he did, and now it looks pretty good.
He said something like, sometimes fourth liners don't get the recognition we deserve, and we play for the love of the game. And so there I am in Cancun. Everyone watching Hockey Night in Canada the previous Saturday saw my hat, but I just wasn't ready. It was before e-commerce and websites, and at the time I was trying to build a wholesale to sell to different stores, like to sell to Johnny K Sports, to sell to other retailers. And that's where the pricing gets really tough because there's only so many margins you can make. But all that being said, that would be like the pinnacle for fourth line. And it was fun. And our biggest break with fourth line hockey is we ended up getting in about 9 national sports. That was my biggest order. We sent them out. But to run a business, an apparel business, you need marketing dollars. You need just some backing and just some knowledge. So that was kind of a learn as I go. And with the fourth line hockey, I tell you, you want to talk about peaks and valleys. I remember at the same time I had fourth line hockey trademarked in the United States. So what you might not know is in the US, when you do a trademark, it lasts for 10 years. When you have one in Canada, it lasts for 15. So I remember the day I got a text from my buddy and said, hey, is this you? And I looked at it, and it was fourth line hockey, but it was the number 4 TH line hockey. And this company was out of the States, and my heart dropped. And what happened 2 months earlier, my U.S. trademark expired. And these people in the States, they maybe they didn't even know about my trademark up in Canada, but I didn't have it in the States anymore. So I lost the U.S. trademark, and that was kind of crushing because I thought that was just disheartening, just how I didn't realize that a U.S. trademark didn't last as long as the Canadian one. So that was tough, but at the same time, I remember now we're kind of close to 2005-ish, and I made one more push with fourth line hockey, and I went to the Saugeen Economic Business Development place in our local area here, and I went and got a loan. Yeah, a loan, a big one too. It was about $100,000, and this was going to be another push, another huge push. At the same time, 2005, I got married in October, and then a month later, my wife and I are on a plane going to Boston because we're going to make one big last pitch at the trade show, the hockey trade show. And this time I found someone else to take me to the promised land. This investment was $10,000, and this gentleman was going to put together a sales force, marketing, everything that I needed that I didn't think I had. This guy was going to do it for me. But there was a few red flags along the way. And I remember he took me to a Leaf game, and he had season's tickets, and he smoked a joint before we went in. Red flag number one, okay? And then number two, I remember just kept asking him about the sales force, and he kept telling me, yeah, we have it all there. We're going to meet the sales force in Boston. So I take all my samples, and we're going to meet our crew, and we're going to have these sample packages for them. And fun fact, at the same time, Gong Show had just came on the market. They've only been doing their trademark Gong Show, which has been a great clothing line for the last few decades. And I remember they were kind of like diagonal my booth, and all the sales reps that my buddy, my $10,000 buddy, told me that were going to work for us, they were in the Gong Show booth, majority of them, and they took on that brand, and they're probably glad they did because what a successful run they've had. But that was a little disheartening because I left Boston and heartbroken. That was it. Mortgaged everything. I didn't even know they had a third mortgage, believe it or not, but they do. And I've had one before, and it sucks. But we grinded through, and I tell you, that would have been the lowest point with Fourth Line as the time, because now I have two stores. I have a store in Durham, I have a store in Hanover, and I have a third mortgage. And I tell you what, finances are getting tight, and so tight, I'll tell you a funny story. One of my friends is an accountant, really good friend of mine. He goes, hey, I want you to go talk to my buddy in Owen Sound and take all your paperwork and just go talk to him. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. He called it a proposal. At the time, I didn't know what really a proposal was. I went to this meeting in Owen Sound, sat in a guy's office for about an hour. He kept looking at all my paperwork, and he's like, oh, okay, all right, oh, man. Well, you got some equity here, okay. Like, I didn't realize until I left that meeting that I was going there. A proposal is actually that maybe you go bankrupt. Yeah, this guy looks at all my paperwork, and it didn't hit me until he said, you know what, if you continue to work hard and grind, you have some equity in these properties, you know what, it's up to you. You want to work hard, or you could pull the plug. So I remember just driving home, and I was like, that was a holy shit moment. Just married, new house. Jack was just born around that time. And this idea or this dream of Fourth Line Hockey is going to sink me. So a few years go by after that. I just concentrated more on the business, on Johnny K Sports. And that was kind of like that moment of, you know, I could still try to push Fourth Line Hockey, but it probably will sink me, or I can just continue on focusing on Johnny K Sports, pay off the third mortgage thing, and just keep grinding. So sometimes I get stubborn and I keep after things. And Fourth Line Hockey, I almost pitched it too far. A couple years go by, and what did I learn in that whole experience is anything you have, you can research yourself. You have to believe within yourself. I kept looking for someone else. So that's the story, folks, on how I almost sunk myself chasing a dream, chasing Fourth Line Hockey. And I tell you, it was really stressful. Anyone that's been in business, anyone that's had just stress when it comes to money and paying your bills and responsibilities, and you get married and you have a family and you want to do things, and at the end of the day, it gets stressful. And as much as I love Fourth Line Hockey, I still love it, and we still have the trademark in Canada, and we still sell some stuff online, and people seem to, you know, there's a certain clientele that loves the old school Fourth Line Hockey stuff. So we sell a few pieces here and there, and it wasn't until we kind of pivoted to For the Love of the Game where I thought we had that trademarked as well. We trademarked that at the same time as Fourth Line Hockey, and and it just kind of has a wider cap space. Like there's more sports. For the love of the game could be anything that you do to make yourself happy. Baseball, tennis, any sport. Doesn't have to be anything else. I always mention yoga, walking through the park, jogging, exercise, playing the violin. I'm not sure where that came from, but all that type of thing. Musical instruments. I envy people who can play musical instruments. I always wanted to be that campfire guy. Hey, John, play this. Funny story. Back in when I was 20 years old, I got dumped, and I went into a tailspin, and I went and bought a guitar for $600, and boy, did my friends have fun with that. Yeah, how's that $600 guitar? Because I had the dream. You know what I mean? Hey, John, play this. Cleo Williams, something about a dirt road, dust on the bottle type stuff. But I ended up selling my guitar in the middle of my financial crisis. Yeah, I think I got $150 for it. Yeah, if that guitar could talk. But yeah, that's what you do in business. You take shots, you get after things, you learn, and you move on. And definitely I've moved on, but I haven't forgotten fourth line hockey. And for the love of the game is our primary focus right now. And we seem to be doing well with it. It's been kind of a thing that we got back into around just before COVID. I remember I was looking to find another marketing person, and I ended up finding a gentleman. He was a new startup marketing and smart guy, had a lot of ideas, but I just don't think the timing was right when I met him. And so we worked a couple months together, and that's when I just decided that, we were trying to nail down a logo, and that seemed to be taking forever. And then I had some advice from a couple other friends, and I just told this fellow that we're going to separate, and we're not going to work together anymore. And there was no hard feelings, and I haven't talked to him since. But that was probably the first time in my business career, venture, whatever you want to call it, that I just started to believe in myself. And I can do things, and I can create a logo, and I can get feedback from people, and I can make a social media post, and I can do a lot of these things. So COVID hits, and the positive there was we had more time to work on the brand, and that's what we did. And that was 2020, and now we're cooking in 2025, and time flies. And every year we're trying to do new things, offer new colors. We've done all sorts of things with the brand. I remember after Fourth Line Hockey, we trademarked a few other things. There was undrafted, unsigned. We have the trademark for that. We have a kind of a cool logo. We haven't really pumped that too much. I remember at the time I was looking for something to take the place of Fourth Line Hockey when I lost the U.S. trademark. And we decided on, I thought undrafted, unsigned was a cool kind of you can look at it two ways. Like a lot of kids, and they go undrafted, and they don't mail it in. There's a lot of great stories in the sports world of undrafted players making an impact. But there's also the guys that are playing in the beer league, like me, undrafted, wasn't even considered in draft talks, and was never signed. And I always use the joke about it's January 16th, the time of this recording, but January 10th in the local hockey area here, that's the deadline day. That's the day that when I was a kid, no email or anything like that. If the phone rang on January the 10th, I booked it. I didn't answer it, put it off the hook, because if you couldn't find me, you couldn't cut me. That was the thinking. But January 10th for every GM in hockey world, junior A, B, C, whatever, you're trying to finalize your roster. So couldn't find K on the 10th of January at any time, even the 12 years I played senior too. So, Fourth Line Hockey, had a great time with that. For the Love of the Game is what we focus on now. Undrafted, unsigned. I almost, one time, I started, do you remember Tommy Hilfiger? Yeah, that's kind of a preppy, higher end clothing, jeans, the collared shirts, kind of like your A game, Tommy Hilfiger. But I thought of Johnny No Figure, kind of rhyme with Tommy Hilfiger. Maybe not, but I thought, kind of like promote Long Live the Fat Bastard. We had some cool cartoons. Didn't follow through on that. So if you want to go ahead and trademark that, give her. I think it'd be funny. Kind of like the co-ed naked type stuff back in the day, those funny t-shirts. There's a lot of stuff out there that no one's doing, and why don't you get after it? So that's what I'm doing. We have something cooking here in the new year, and we're going to talk about it more in our next podcast, but I'm super, super excited about it. And when you hear what we're doing, you're probably thinking, why? I never thought in my wildest dreams that Johnny would venture into this type of business, but why not? Yeah, why not? We'll only live once. I am on the half a century mark coming up soon. And I'm not sure how much more longer we have to go, so we have to make the most of it. So I hope you like our new idea that's going to come out by the next podcast. And this is me, Johnny K, episode 6. Thanks for listening, and make sure to tune in next month for our launch of something real cool. Stay social, everyone. Thanks. Cheers.